professor Jessica Levinson joining us to dig a little bit further into what this ruling means for the rights of women throughout the country, not just for the rights of women, but specifically what's going to happen with it in California and across the country. Jessica, we appreciate you giving us a little bit of time tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
So, Jessica, let's start really broad. Today's ruling really does mean something different for the state of California than it does for a lot of other states, meaning that other states, including Missouri, they have these trigger laws basically saying that things are going to, that this is going to go into effect immediately and abortion is going to be illegal. But that, like I mentioned, that's not the case in California. Explain that for us.
That's not the case in California. That's exactly right. So what today's decision says is that there is no longer a federally protected right to obtain an abortion, which means we leave this now to the states. Exactly as you said, there will now be a patchwork of laws. So there will be states like California where we're trying to be really a sanctuary state, not only provide access to abortion to our residents, but provide resources for people to travel to California and provide more resources to abortion providers. We'll see the opposite in red states where they will not only either severely restrict or ban abortion in those states, but they'll actually try and reach outside of the state borders and prevent women from traveling to obtain an abortion. So we're certainly going to see two very different Americas and women having two very different experiences depending on the state that they live in.
We got two rulings this week. Of course, we were expecting this on Roe when the Dobbs leak came out in early May. But yesterday, we also got the ruling on the Second Amendment, too. But the processes and the way it was approached is pretty different. States can regulate abortions, but not guns.
So I think that what the court would say is the difference is that the Second Amendment is written in the Constitution, and it specifically says the right to keep and bear arms, and that there is no right to obtain an abortion written in the Constitution. There is no right to privacy written in the Constitution. So what the court would say is, well, we're just interpreting, when it comes to the Second Amendment, something that is already written down, which shows us that the framers, that shows us the people who drafted the Second Amendment wanted this to be a fundamental right. But when it comes to abortion, that's not written anywhere. So we're actually going outside of our lane to say that that should be protected and found in the text of the Constitution. Now, there are certainly ways to say that these two rulings are inconsistent, but I think that's what the court would say in terms of how we have the opinion yesterday striking down New York's law with respect to concealed carry permits, and then the decision today striking down constitutional protection for the right to obtain an abortion.
All right, Jessica, obviously we kind of hit right off the top here the difference between what's happening in California and other states, but there's also a whole other side of this that this potentially could expand to, and that is the so-called abortion pill, right? So that's something that is used in 50% of abortions in the state of California. So going forward here, is there going to be a restriction on that too? That's going to be much more broad in terms of encompassing all the states, not just encompassing California?
So I think what we're going to see in the short term is that this will actually be the federal government versus red states. So we know that the federal government has loosened restrictions on the abortion pills, has said that you do not have to have an in-person appointment. And there's a huge push today for President Biden to direct the FDA to reduce regulations on these abortion pills and to specifically provide language that says that the right to obtain these abortion pills is supreme and that no law, no state can try and ban the mailing in or prescription of these abortion pills. That sets up a matchup between federal law and policy and state law. Now, if there's a true conflict, we know what happens. The Supremacy Clause tells us that the federal law wins. So I think that's what happens in the short term. Now, could there be a push on the federal level to ban all abortions? If the composition of Congress changes, of the Senate and of the White House, which is not out of the realm of possibility, I do think that we could see at least proposals to completely ban abortion. That means California would not have the option.
Well, and I want to stick with that for a second in terms of implications for elections, because we saw a 6-3 decision on this, a 6-3 decision on guns and the Second Amendment and concealed carry yesterday. I mean, here in California, where we are a big Democratic state and access to abortion right now is safe, you have access to one today. This is a big win, though, for the conservative movement.
It's a huge win for the conservative movement. Actually, on the point of overturning Roe v. Wade, it's 5-4. On the point of upholding Mississippi's 15-week ban on abortion, it's 6-3. But there's no question that the conservative movement has been planning and pushing for this. And this is really the fruition of a huge goal for them. I mean, the question kind of politically is what happens in the midterm elections? So who does this motivate to get out to the polls? How many people will vote maybe differently than they otherwise would have? How many people go to the ballot box who otherwise maybe would not have? But what we see here is elections have consequences, and the power of the court and the power of 5 people who live in America who are on the Supreme Court to fundamentally change the law of the land.
All right, Loyola law professor Jessica Levinson sort of breaking down and dissecting what was announced today with Roe v. Wade being overturned. We have to take a quick break, Jessica, but I hope you'll stick with us and we can talk a little bit more and dissect this a little bit further on the other side of the break.